Hi, my name is Barry. I'm a New York State licensed therapist and a professional spiritual intuitive. What I'm going to be talking about today is the topic of chakras. And in my therapy work, in my spiritual work, I do a lot of work with chakras. So I'm going to give a very brief overview as to what they are. There's something that many people have heard of. Most people don't really know a lot about what they are. And even people who have worked with chakras, there are different psychological components that is not really familiar to most. So very briefly, I'll start with the first chakra, which is the root chakra. It's down near sort of in between the generative area, the penis, the vagina, all the way down on the bottom. And that is a very complex and very important chakra. That's the area where you connect with energy from the earth. If you're not drawing energy from the earth, you're going to probably end up being pretty tired and depleted. That's also where the concept of the true self lives, the essence of who you really are, not the persona that you project, but rather the essential you. On the bottom of the first chakra, that's where the sense of self-love, that's the domain, that's where it lives. And one can access it by going down to the very bottom of the first chakra. And almost everybody has it. Not quite everybody. You have to have had at least a half hour, an hour of love once in your life. If you've never had love, it may be very hard to find. But that's fortunately a very small minority. In the first chakra, there is also an energy connection with the divine, however you wish to define it. It could be God, it could be gods, it could be Buddha, it could be your grandmother. Whatever for you is your sense of connection to the divine. And it's very, very important to connect with, because that, when you are connected with that, you're living in yourself, you're living in the moment, you're living in your passion. Second chakra, two things. It's the sense of maleness and femaleness, sexuality, and it's also creativity. Many times the male-female side is on either the right or the left, and the creativity is on the other. When one doesn't function well, often the other also becomes inhibited. But sometimes the energy can go all the way to one and it robs the other. So if you're an incredibly creative person, but you're not particularly sexual, you have too much energy going into creativity and you need to balance it. Same thing, if you're a very, very sexual person, you may rob yourself of creativity. So, very briefly, that's the second chakra. Third chakra, region around the solar plexus and belly button. And that is the place of interconnectedness to the world. That's the place where you draw energy in from the world, you send out energy to the world. If you're, an example, you're meeting someone, you want to make a good impression, you put energy out as to how you want the person to see you or feel you or experience you, and they will pick it up. Not always consciously, but they will be aware. But primarily, it's the chakra that deals with interactional dynamics between you and everything else. Fourth chakra is heart. Pretty obvious. Heart is where emotions are. And that's the part where you experience emotions, you take it in from the world, you give it out to the world. It's very powerful. Fifth chakra, throat. That is also a fairly complex chakra. That has to do with, that's where the ego lives. Of course, the ability to communicate, to speak to the world, to speak your true self. That's also the point where the will lives. Sorry, fumbled my words. But the will lives in the throat chakra. It's not necessarily part of the ego, but the will is the energy to do, to create, to be. Sixth chakra is generally the third eye, and that has to do with psychic abilities, psychic impressions, your ability to sense and know things, things that are not necessarily concrete or obvious. And sixth chakra, crown, right on top of the head, that has to do with spiritual connectivity. And that's where, for those who can, messages come in from your guides, from teachers, from the divine, people who get messages from the spirit realms or from your own higher self, which is a whole nother topic, but it's a part of yourself that's not in your body that comes in through there. One thing I also forgot to mention about the first chakra, sorry, jumping around a bit, is that the first chakra is home to intuition. And it's not necessarily in the first chakra per se, but it's in that region. You always hear people say, you know, I have a gut feeling about this. Well, they don't say that for accident. It is in the gut. And just a little bit to talk about the gut, it's been much more coming out, data, information in the past couple of years, that there's actually two brains. There's the gut brain, which is a complex of neurological endings and connections around the solar plexus, as well as the head brain, which is what we always call our head, our brain. But the gut brain has about 98% of emotions, feelings, connections, and the connection between the gut brain and the head brain is reported to be faster than the speed of light. It's basically instantaneous. So when you have feelings, emotions, intuitions, it hits you in your gut. And then the gut immediately communicates with the head brain so that you understand what's going on. Just a little description of some of the complexities of the psychological and energy dynamics, as well as physiological dynamics of the human system. So thank you very much. I hope this was somewhat informative, at least. And if you want to contact me, post questions, post comments, you can do so in the bottom comment section. Or you can look at my website, which is Birthright Therapy, or you can write me directly. And my email address is barry@birthrighttherapy.com. Thank you very much, and until the next time.